Is Bitcoin played out? Now, this is kind of one of the questions that I think a lot of people are kind of asking themselves. And last cycle, I even kind of wondered if, obviously, if Bitcoin was going to have its, power in the parabolic run. And obviously, we saw that it did not kind of hit that upper channel as hard as we, maybe would have hoped that it would have. But what I told people last bear market is that the good altcoins will go parabolic compared to the Bitcoin price, and that played out true. Obviously, if you saw some of my buys in late 2018, late 2019, and you saw some of the stuff that I stacked, you gained quite a bit of a multiple beyond what you would have if you would have just held Bitcoin. Now, obviously, the premise is that Bitcoin is going to be kind of the safe haven, and that you stack that, and then after it bangs, then it falls to this other stuff like BNB, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Litecoin. It falls to this other stuff. That was hard to time. Obviously, we had kind of this double peak scenario just in general with crypto, and DeFi kind of changed the name of the game, for better, for worse. Now, I don't think you should leave home without any Bitcoin. Like, if you are stacking bags, Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, those three to me are world reserve assets at this point. But as I've said before, the more money that enters crypto, they don't need to make a 5x or a 10x multiple. They're going after Bitcoin. The institutional money is going after Bitcoin and Ethereum primarily, and they don't need to earn those big multiples. So if they put $1 billion in and they end up with $2 billion, that may be all they need, so they can sell. They don't need to make the multiple that you need to make or that you think you need to make if you're calculating out what car, this or that, or what private island you're going to buy, and this and that. So again, you got to be careful this euphoria stage with any of this stuff. I think that Bitcoin is going to partially lose even a little bit of its energy because as we see with these different exchanges, whether it be Kraken, Gemini, Coinbase, all that kind of stuff, there was a time when, for instance, in 2017, it was just Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin at one point in 2017 on something like Coinbase. Now they've just added all these coins and everything, and it really kind of dilutes the energy that would have maybe went towards a Bitcoin, towards an Ethereum. So everybody's looking for that next thing. What do we see with Dogecoin? People missed it, and then they chased after Shiba Inu or whatever else, and then you have exchanges that were very, very exclusive, like Gemini, that suddenly were adding Dogecoin on Mars. It's just, so it really kind of was like, a race to the bottom as far as like, well, what can we add? Let's attract these users and stuff. People want to trade this, so they wanted to go ahead and add these various different things. And so Bitcoin lost some of the energy that it would have went more focal, more of a focus on that. And that was for these Bitcoin maxis. That was always part of the complaint, even going back to 2013, 2014, that they didn't like the altcoin market because it was taking away a lot of the energy from Bitcoin and sort of distracting people from the overall goal. With that being said, Bitcoin's capacity is not capable in these parabolic moves to do the transaction volume and stuff like that. And obviously, there's things like the Lightning Network, but you guys have to understand. Well, I've been hearing about the Lightning Network since 2015. We've been hearing about Ethereum 2.0 since 2017. You get so many years into the future, and I just look at some of these projects, and I'm just going to mention Sandbox, for instance. It's just like, okay, and I see these projects say, oh, I'm going to build it on Ethereum, and stuff like that. And so there's just been so many delays with these various upgrades and stuff, and it's like, oh, well, the merge is just around the corner. This is just around the corner. It's always just around the corner with crypto. So you just need to realize that. You just need to understand that. And if there is a lot of hype around it, definitely, jump on these hype cycles and ride that out. But you don't want to be a ride or die with most of these coins. You never want to 100% sell out of crypto, but you don't want to sit there and ride this roller coaster all the way up and all the way back down like we've seen a lot of people do. So you're never going to hit absolute bottoms, and you're never going to get absolute tops. But just remember this: you accumulate during these zones, where it starts to long tail out, long tail out, long tail out. People are pressed out. People stop talking about it. People are doing base jumps with no parachutes, you know, in various different locations, and I don't recommend that. But you start seeing this kind of stuff, and people get in a destitute kind of situation. So at that point, at those various periods, you got to stack, and then when the stuff starts going hockey stick parabolic, you got to feather out, feather out, feather out, feather out. It's easier said than done. Obviously, you have to have the economic energy to put into it, but in a lot of ways, what I'm looking at Bitcoin to do this next time around, say right now we're floating around 20,000. I expect it to fall additionally under 15,000. I think that we're going to have some additional capitulation events, and some will be sort of a test. We kind of made it through this last test that it didn't punch down through that 17,500. I think we will punch down. We'll go lower than 15,000. We could go as low as, you know, potentially even under 10,000. But don't necessarily bank on that. Don't necessarily bank on the fact that we're gonna do that, because we don't know if we're gonna do that. So if you accumulate to some respect, and kind of don't be too greedy, because going back to 2015, I remember talking to a friend, the Arizona Archer, and me and him both, it was like, well, what is this stuff worth? And we started saying like, well, okay, if Bitcoin goes down to $250, I'm going to go all in. And it went down real quick. And then it went down to like 187 bucks. And it was just like, well, if it goes down to 100 bucks, I'm going all in, I'm going all in. Well, it never went down to that. So you're always like kind of waiting for this next moment to like buy in. And then if you don't at some point kind of realize, well, it may not go down there, then it's just not going to happen. And then that's just kind of it. It could pass you by. And at the end of the day, you would have been better off just stacking, because percentage wise, we're somewhat close to where it's probably going to end up this bear market. You know, so if it does the 85% drop that it's done in the last two cycles, that's 10,800 thereabouts. So just kind of keep that in mind. Anything under 15,000, it's good to stack. But if you just play it conservative and say, well, let's just say it has lost its luster, so you get it at 15,000. Maybe you start feathering out at 30,000. Maybe it doesn't get up to its all-time highs again for some reason. Now, the reason I think it will is because it has become this world reserve asset. There will be enough money flowing to it, whether that's off-chain. There's a lot of this transactions on the you know, on these exchanges. It's actually off-chain, and you know, they're holding it basically in storage. And when somebody's buying it, it's not an on-chain transaction, and it's just kind of in their database. It's saying, okay, this account over here has 1 Bitcoin or whatever you have. So so a lot of the transaction be off-chain, so they're not going to feel the pressure of these like high fees and stuff like that during the bull market. And then secondly, so much Bitcoin is tokenized on these other chains. All this wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, Harmony One, Phantom, so on and so forth. So people are always going to kind of gravitate back to that, even if it is a tokenized version of itself, and if it has been wrapped properly and tokenized properly, then it is a one-for-one when it entered that chain. So don't leave home without Bitcoin, but just know that once we kind of come out of this bear market, your strong alts will bang harder than Bitcoin. Obviously more risk potentially, but by the time we come out of this, let's say in 8 months to a year's time, your strong alts will likely perform better than Bitcoin. So plan accordingly to that. So, and you know, I've had some people say, well, Dogecoin, you know, it went up and then it went back down. Well, all this stuff goes up and it goes back down. Real estate has went up and it's going back down. So, you got to get in and out of these markets. It's all about timing. So 20,000% in a year with Dogecoin is potentially one of the best investments ever in the history of mankind. So don't discount the potential, the earnings potential on some of these alts. But that being said, you know, if you're using a small percentage of your portfolio to speculate on various different assets, you know, I definitely don't think that's bad. But if you get totally just degen out, I mean, I've just totally just seen people. I know one guy that he had his portfolio up to about $72,000, and it washed away, clear down to $1,000. Some of these projects will, by the time we're done with this bear market, some projects will lose 98 to 99% of their value. So just keep that in mind. That being said, guys, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like this video. I'm trying to pump out more content. Really helps me out. Really helps the channel out. And follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos. YouTube, Instagram, Steemit, Twitter, Hive, DTube, everywhere. See you guys.